RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. We are live for a Thursday night edition. Excited to be back. Looking forward to connecting. And it's been a while since I've done a What's on Your Mind segment. And so I'm curious to just basically get a overall assessment of what's going on out here around the world or whatnot. I'm curious to see what you guys are keeping an eye on, what's more important to you, what's not. Feel free to let me know this evening. And then also got a couple stories here worth touching on. And other than that, just have some more fun, man, trying to navigate these choppy waters and just understand where we're at and where we're heading. So hope everyone's doing well. Any first-time viewers, would love to welcome you to the community. And any returning viewers, thanks for blessing us with your time. And if you don't mind, hit the thumbs up button. Show your support for the channel, and hopefully the algorithms notify a few more people that I'm sure will like to be notified. But with YouTube these days, there's no guarantees. But hope everyone's doing well. Looking forward to connecting. So let's talk, man. We got DC Precise checking in. We got Solo. We got low blood pressure. We got AJ checking in. We got Toshiba Mike. We got Mr. Nitty. JoJo. Okay, we have Monero Juana from Florida. Appreciate you for checking in. What else we got here? Major Ken. Kenneth Gibson, William Alexander. Flat Earth. Jane, we got CT Sack 64. AG Stackerdom. All right, S400. Gene, appreciate you guys, man. Yeah, so as always, man, just want to keep plugging along, man. It's Thursday night coming down towards the end of the week, and I want to definitely check in. It's been a while also since we've done the Join Me Face-to-Face, so I might throw that in the mix as well. We'll love to get a chance to see some new faces, meet some new people from out here from internet land. So if you guys are interested in joining me on screen and just having a little back and forth, it's been a while, so might want to do that tonight as well. So we got Ronald from Greensboro checking in. All righty. So it looks like, on some good news, at least temporary good news. It looks like the whole debt ceiling debacle was kicked down the curb for about 6 weeks, give or take. And another article I came across in reference to how it looks like more of the baby boomer generation, based upon a survey, are experiencing more concerns with the increase in the consumer goods or whatnot, and just the inflation narrative that's been rammed down our throat. A lot of people are looking and beginning to question whether or not, they have done a good job up to this point of being able to set aside funds to last them throughout their golden years. And it looks like, based upon the numbers, more and more people are questioning the financial advice they've received. They're even, it sounds like they're even willing to have some tough conversations with their financial advisors on whether or not they're in good shape, given the fact that people are now waking up and understanding more about monetary policy and how interest rates basically being at near zero and in real terms ultimately negative. And it's just the whole idea that the promises that were made, people are realizing that there might be a situation where they're not kept. And we're going to touch on that as well. Excuse me. So let me stop rambling, get into some more activity here. So I got maybe 4 or 5 articles I mentioned. We'll keep it moving. RTD, low blood pressure says, RTD, don't worry, baby boomers getting an extra $90 a month next year. That COLA adjustment, unfortunately, won't cut it. It might put 2 or 3 more items in your basket when you're checking out, depending on what you're getting. Well, as of right now, $90 can put, maybe 10 items in the basket, give or take what you're looking for. Might be able to touch on, maybe half of one of your bills, but it won't do much. And that's the unfortunate consequences of the majority, including a lot of us as well. We've been set up to become casualties of a failed and corrupt monetary structure, and it's all based upon debt. And you guys know that, so I'm not going to beat the horse right that one, but it's unfortunate. And that's why, and also because I've always been leery of this new asset class. I had a chance to interview a gentleman today. It was a great interview. It's we posting this weekend, but having been introduced to the digital asset space, and whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. It's not going anywhere. It's a part of the determined plan towards taking us towards that Internet of Things society that we're going to live in. But I'm thinking about for the individuals, especially if we have any of our community members that have are entering that phase of retirement. And I'm curious to get your take on some things, because if you're awake and aware, then you've already been able to diversify and to probably better position yourself than the average person. But it's unfortunately you're a minority. And so I'm curious to get your thoughts on this item right here, because as a asset class that is counter to the destruction that's happening in the fiat realm, cryptocurrencies and, of course, metals, whenever they have their official turn, will be the recipient of all that stimulus, all the liquidity, all the trillions upon trillions, putting people in a much better position of being able to absorb more purchasing power with those assets there. And so I'm curious to get your thoughts from the older population, perhaps if any out there, as well as the younger. And so, as I mentioned, I believe this is a setup, but yet it's a setup that can probably buy you some time and extend your your savings a little bit longer than if you're solely in the legacy financial system, which is based upon the current valuation of your house and your stock portfolio, and of course your bond holdings. Those three asset classes, which is what majority of people have put their entire life into. Those are the things that come this next correction, people are going to experience a major shock. And then to, I guess, get back on track from that shock will then come the unimaginable amount of currency that's going to be created, further diluting your purchasing power. So, it might look good on paper, but unless you can actually do something with it when you're trying to spend it, I wouldn't really bank on it. But Solo, I appreciate you, man. Says, I got to admit, everything about BTC been the only true gainer between it and metals. And, you can't deny it. I mean, the cryptocurrency space is being positioned to do quite well. And then you factor in all the newfound attention that it's receiving. You can't deny it. Now, it's one of those things I wouldn't personally, I don't have long-term hopes in it for the 10, 20-year time frame, just because from the way society is set up and the way that the government's treating the public, I don't think most people get a chance to really enjoy majority of those proceeds there. But in the short term, having exposure to this space has given me more of a sense of calm and relief, just because as I realize the currency is being destroyed, I also know that most of the destruction happens to be transferring purchasing power into the assets that we're talking about here. So it's kind of like I don't have that same sense of like, that feeling of I've worked my entire life and I've put it into the products that I was told to, and my government has weaponized the currency continuously now, and I don't have that sense that I'm losing when it comes to the long-term aspect of things, just because of course, with precious metals, even though it hasn't really moved in the same way that the cryptocurrency space has, I'm more confident that that's going to be the best hedge against the monetary policies that be. So it's just something I want to throw out there, man. Just get you guys thinking, just because I know the crowd is probably more 60-40, 55-45-ish when it comes to talking about the digital asset space. But these are things that I think it's only in your best interest to be open and to be willing to discuss those type of things if you haven't already. Witches Works says, Mike, do people not know there are two systems currently, the United States and the United States of America? Which one do you believe you are under? Okay, great question there. So there's the United States and the United States of America. Which one do you believe you're under? Well, currently, I am within the state of Michigan. And so as far as the actual system I'm under, clearly you have a well-defined distinction in the two, I'm sure. Feel free to elaborate on that if you would like to. But as of right now, which either one we fall under, I think we're still subject to the same jurisdiction as well as restrictions that has been thrown out in either one. So feel free to elaborate, because I'm not quite sure how to distinguish between the two in reference to what you're leading to. So I don't want to just jump out there and not know exactly where you're heading with that. So feel free to elaborate, and I'll definitely share my two thoughts on that. But as of right now, being in the state of Michigan, and this goes to the video I did a couple of weeks ago about the possible restrictions that will be thrown out at us along with this current mandated stuff. And so any minute now, when Biden gets up to one of those, press conferences, I'm anticipating some type of announcement, further cracking down on our ability to move freely or whatnot. And that comes in with the no ability to travel between states. That's going to be a part of the equation at some point. And then some of the other things I've mentioned in the video, I forgot, but those are the things that I'm kind of anticipating. And that time frame that I mentioned in that video was around Halloweenish. So we are about 2 weeks away. So we're going to find out if all that was just hype or a little bit of a forewarning. But with all that stuff being said, whether we're on the United States or the United States of America, whatever's thrown at us, unfortunately, we still fall into that category as being residents in the current states we're in, depending on how your local government enforces that. So, but anyway, rambling too much. Let me know. So yeah, I see some thoughts here. Let me touch on this. Major Ken says there was a new constitution after the War of Northern Aggression. The U.S. was sold off to pay for the debt from the war. That I don't doubt. As far as I've heard and watched a lot of videos and did some reading up on it, and how the United States of America was incorporated, and so technically speaking, we are a legal entity that is owned and operated under under the disguise of a government with the Constitution. And of course, the birth certificates and whatnot are insurable bonds that have been a price tag has been given up to, I think I saw about $1 million per social security number or whatnot. So that stuff I do believe. But at this current moment, only 0.001% of the population might even have that information, where the 99.9999% are plugged into the matrix still. So having that revelation, having that information, does it really do you any good? Have you really gone down that route to where you've done some things to opt out in the system type of thing? So I have, a lot of people I've come across that's a part of the Moorish community, well-educated brothers, and they have actually shown me some paperwork and actually, produced some paperwork that they've, turned into the state to opt out, and they got the release papers and all that stuff. I believe it's real, but mind you, you're fighting an animal, you're fighting a beast. So you got to have some funds to fight that beast. And most of the people who I'm aware of that did that, they're all victims of the states and the government, and came across that knowledge by default because they were under attack by the man himself. So anyway, okay. So let me take a couple more thoughts here. It says, I think they're speaking that the U.S. is a corporation. Very true. Okay, yeah, so that's what he was referring to. Okay, so I'm aware of that. But here's again, to my point, feel free to chime in, because I'm open to have these discussions, because I need to learn about this stuff. But as far as it being a corporation, having that information and knowing that, what do you do with it? How beneficial is that information that you've received in regards to what the true state of this country is and the government that oversees it? Like, how has that really liberated us or liberated you or whatnot? Feel free to chime in, because I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that one. Monero Wana says, Aaron, a lot of Bitcoin maxis don't speak in dollar terms. They count Satoshis. Very true. Okay, so let me stop rambling. So those are just some thoughts came across my mind. Feel free to chime in, and when the phone lines open up, feel free to talk about that. But just a couple things caught my attention on the headlines today. As I mentioned, leading off, we got about 6 weeks of media calm in reference to debt, unless something breaks or unless something gives. But Biden signs temporary debt ceiling extension. We're not talking about paying off anything. We're talking about kicking a can. And so as of now, an additional $480 billion was signed or created today, or will be created this week. When the piece of paper that was signed by the pretender and thief Biden gets transferred to the Treasury Secretary, then they issue some new debt securities. And then, of course, the central bank or the open market committee buys it and puts $480 billion onto the balance sheet of the Treasury, and then they pay some bills. But then again, come December 3rd, we're back at it again, talking about the need for more debt. And why this is extremely alarming, because this is just minuscule in comparison to the continuation of the same debt-based Ponzi scheme that's going to get worse. And so for those that might be tuning in, I kind of hinted at why I think this is more important than ever, because it has to do, with articles like this. Like, I came across this and I'm thinking, like, once again, I remember years ago when I first really started talking about rethinking the dollar, it was geared towards me having grown up in an environment, looking at all the older people in my family and friends that were check to check, hand to hand, and was not even conscious of their own financial matters and knew nothing about the monetary system. And I witnessed how literally Social Security was all there was, and seeing that wasn't doing much. And that's still very prevalent to this day, because with the average Joe, I forgot what the percentage are, more than, I think, 60%, if probably not more, solely depend upon Social Security as their form of retirement, because they felt a sense of comfort in the earlier years when, consumer price inflation wasn't as outright rampant as it's becoming now, to where you're still able to maintain. But now we're witnessing that that's not the case. And it's literally, we're, what are we, maybe less than 20 or so months, or just about 20 months, or so into this decade here. And we're going to have some shocks coming pretty soon. And so it says 71% of retirement age investors worry rising inflation will negatively affect their savings, survey finds. And there's a lot of interesting things in here, but just some of the numbers that caught my attention. It says those between 59 and 75 with more than 250,000 in investable assets are concerned about finding steady retirement income. And so one thing that stood out there, $250,000. And the average median size home in this country is, I think, about 300,000 or 250, 300. Think about that. The individuals that this was referring to, 59 to 75-year-olds, when they first got into the workforce 30, 40 years ago, the average median house was probably, under 100,000 for sure. And when they first started off on their journey towards, pursuing the American dream, their goal and what they probably thought was, hey, if I set aside $250,000, I'll be fine. And of course, depending on their lifestyles or whatnot. But that $250,000 quickly is being exposed for something that will not last longer than half a decade, depending on what it's in. And that was my whole point earlier, talking about how, if people would have participated earlier in the digital asset space, they could have countered all the potential gains that has been occurring to this point, to where they would have been able to add to that number there significantly and be in a better position to hedge against the coming, asset price increases. But anyway, so just I think it's out of 1,000 or so, it says the survey was conducted in August and included 1,013 retirement age investors with more than 250,000 in investable assets. And then at the very bottom here, it talks about the results show that 73% are worried about how resurgence of the virus would affect their stock market. So the health situation just being thrown out there is a major concern. It says, meanwhile, 56% are concerned about how that can negatively impact their retirement savings. And then it says here, with 64% said that they are more open to having financial advice than they were before the pandemic. So a lot more people now are like, hey, I need some help now. Just, just having that number in mind and setting it aside in the conventional format may not be effective. So I'm open to talk to some people. And it says 51% who work with financial professionals said that they have discussed the low interest rate environment they're in. So people are literally realizing right now that because we are in basically zero territory, you're not going to earn nothing nowhere without taking extreme risk. So here's a question I want to put up there real quick. Knowing that in order to have anything grow nominally, you're going to have to take some risk. Now, here's a question. Of course, for those that are awake and aware, you probably have allocation in metals, of course, maybe the mining space as well. But if you're going to take a risk, how much risk are you willing to take, knowing that you will not be able to outsave or to save enough currency in relation to the amount that's going to be created this year, next year, and the years to come? So whatever you set aside is going to be diluted at a much faster rate as far as what you can purchase. So when it comes to risk, and this is where I'm thinking, believe it or not, whether you want to go for it or not, it doesn't matter. But because of all this risk and more people who are a little bit older are concerned with being able to maintain and have something coming in steadily for a long period of time, it's more than likely they're going to be steered towards. And then as more information comes about and more people are awake and in tune with it, people are going to run to this image right here faster than precious metals. And so this right here, whether you like it or not, because it's the first of its kind that's being presented, it's being used as the vehicle to transfer all the wealth out of the old system into the new. Having had exposure to this puts you in a much favorable position than not having any. And of course, being one of the people who are not, because of course, I don't think this is going to be the head honcho in the end, but it's better than not having, or just basically waiting on the stock market over the long run to continue to go up as well as the asset or the price of your home to go up continuously as well. So yeah, just a little something I wanted to mention. So it's just, I'm curious to hear what you guys think. So Low Blood Pressure says, no, Mike, cryptocurrency. So LBP, that's what I mean. But I'm just saying this. If you're an older individual and you're sitting on a large chunk of cash, you can definitely go out and put it in a gold, silver, and whatever else. But your average Joe, according to the survey here, more people are now looking for financial advice. And so once the Bitcoin ETF is approved, I'm not for that, but it's just going to be the best mechanism to get, say, $30 trillion into that system. Most people are going to run towards it anyway, just because it has the best chance of just being a recipient of all the currency. Metals will do their thing, but people will be lured here. Your financial brokers they're not going to tell them about getting gold and silver. They're going to tell them, we have this new hero, we can set you up with this and that. So that's my point. Risk. What are you willing to risk? You stay in the old system as it's being killed off, you're going to lose it all. You can prolong some of the hard energy and capital that you've been able to accumulate throughout your life by participating in the interim, the system that they're transitioning us to, and then make some decisions. It buys you a little bit more time. So that's just my little 2 cents there, but I'm open to discussion because you have more stuff like this coming up too. Asset price inflation is not going nowhere. We all knew it wasn't transitory because it's a part of their design to literally cause much chaos as possible. But producer price index, inflation rather, hits a new record high. Pricing pressures near the 70s peak. And so I wasn't around in the 70s, so I can't really speak to this, but I'm sure we have community members that were speaking to this, that can speak to this. But just looking at this chart here, the PPI final demand versus the intermediate demand. And so just looking and going back into history, we're approaching numbers as far as this index here that we haven't seen really since the 70s time frame, early 70s, early 80s. And I heard about those time frames. I heard how things were extremely pricey, but yet also much different environment. It wasn't a global event at that time, but it didn't go away. It was a long, drawn-out process. And what did well, of course, we know precious metals, gold, silver, did their best. We're going to experience that as well. But yet the system is set up to make sure that they do the best they can to make sure metals don't spike. And they will definitely want cryptocurrencies to do quite well. So that risk thing, where would you want to be when they're going to steer them towards a certain sector, which will then allow you to be able to purchase more metals. So just something I think is worth studying about. Anyway, more stuff here. Just a little bit more information here. U.S. wholesale prices rose record 8.6 over 12 months. So yeah, most of your favorite items, I'm sure, price tag went up a little bit. So I can imagine if I was a retiree, depending upon a certain fixed income every month, I would be concerned about this. So the moment my financial broker or whoever that handles my finances come to me and say, hey, we have an opportunity for you here where you can receive, 10, 20, 30, 40%, they're going to run there. They're going to run there. And then here's another thing. Something's up when Mr. Putin is not bashing the crypto space. He's actually saying that, hey, if they don't destroy the dollar, cryptos may not be that bad. Putin praises crypto as possible weaponized dollar replacement. So just some excerpts it was pulled from one of his speeches, but this is Putin quote. I don't think crypto is a fad. I don't think it's going to go away. He said, I don't know what the value of Bitcoin, or that was Jamie Dimon. What did he say? Putin said, I believe it has value. And talking about basically trading oil and cryptocurrency. And he's like, yeah, we're not there yet. So obviously they know, he knows something we don't know. And then this is also just information that's not of any good to anybody, but it's real life. It says more than a third of the jobless Americans are still long-term unemployed and without benefits. So there's going to be more pain coming. And for those that have been expecting this, hopefully they have set aside more funds in expectation of the government cutting off funds. But then again, I've seen a lot of quotes out there saying that if people would have took one of those stimulus checks and purchased whatever cryptocurrency, preferably this one right here, they would have maybe 8x, 10x those that stimulus check, since that initial first check was given. So like it or not, that's where everything is going. You could either jump on a bandwagon to your benefit, or you can not and keep it moving. Anyway, enough of that. I got a couple articles, but I'll spare you guys that. So let's talk. Open the phone lines. What is in your mind tonight? So I want to have a little what's on your mind session. So feel free to chime in and let me know what you think. But just those are things that really concern me because we all have loved ones, family and friends older than us that may not be awake and aware as to what's really going on, don't know the agenda that's being set against them, don't know that they were lured into a 60-year trap and that it's coming to an end, and they're going to be on the short end of the stick when it comes to being able to sustain themselves for a long period of time. And so I just, think it's worth a discussion worth having, because I'd assume everyone's tuning in. They've had some discussions with their family and friends about, what they're doing and what they should do, because ultimately it's no way that you can sit across from a loved one and see them still living and plugged into the matrix and not want to have that talk. But like, hey, you got, any silver? What do you think about silver, gold? And, what do you think about all this? So everybody had those talks. The question is, how do those talks go? Do you still say, hey, I still, get your weight up is a mantra. So I'm going to say that till whenever. But I've had more family members. Give me 1 second here. Missing call. I've had one family member come up to me and say, Mike, man, thanks, man. I wish I would have did more. I'm like, oh, okay. It's not too late. Anyway, hello, caller. Which name are you calling from?
Hey, Mike, it's Ed. I just wanted to throw something at you real quick.
Go ahead, Ed. What's on your mind, man?
My dad was born around 1930. I was born around 1955.
Okay.
So my dad, his whole life, he bought houses at 3.5%, 4%.
Mm-hmm.
When he retired, in the late 70s, early 80s, I was buying houses.
Mm-hmm.
My first house was 10.5.
Okay.
My second house was 8.5. My third house was 7.5. So I paid for 30 years at houses. I was paying at those rates.
Mm-hmm.
And so my dad was retired. You could get 8-10% in a CD.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He bought all his houses cheap. He built up a little nest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what most of, I'm 68. That's what most of us plan on doing. If you got 50, you got 500K,
mm-hmm.
and you can get 8%, that and your Social Security, you can live on that.
Yeah.
But now the interest rate is 0.03. You can't live on that. But the younger people are buying these houses and gaining a lot of equity, supposedly equity,
mm-hmm.
by, upgrading. And, they're paying 2.5%, 3% for their houses. So
yeah.
In one way, I feel like, my dad, it was a better time. And all this is really, things are so screwed up now. It really don't have a whole lot to do with it. But I think the younger people need to appreciate that they're living in our dream houses when they're 30, because they're paying 3% and we paid 8, 10, 12.
Yeah.
People. I know people actually had mortgage rates at 18%. Imagine that.
Ooh, baby, man. Yeah. So
my first house.
Yeah.
My first house payment was $890, and $16 went to principal.
Wow. Whoa.
Nowadays it's a little bit better, but as you get towards the end,
mm-hmm.
but that's one thing to think about. That's where the boomers really got messed up, because now, like you just said, we have to do high risk because we can't get no interest on our savings.
Yeah.
So now they used to reward savers and make borrowers pay a high price.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's reversed. They punish savers
Mm-hmm.
and they reward borrowers.
Yeah. And so so I've heard, like, of course, Robert Kiyosaki's, all the real estate gurus out there saying, hey, man, you want to take on as much debt as you can, of course, what you can sustain, but turn it into cash flow now. Take it and then put that towards your future, because right now, that, how can you not take it on all this debt when they're basically incentivizing you to do it? Because that's how the system keeps going. I'm thinking, like, well, damn, like, so all those young people you're referring to that's out here, in the real estate game, getting all these houses, I'm like, they're taking on this debt, but we're also going to experience probably the biggest real estate crash or adjustment like we've never witnessed before. And then what? You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's that having you can't time anything, but yet it's like, man, like, do the best you can to get as much out of the system as now as you can, because there ain't no guarantees beyond, the next couple of weeks, months, and years. So, if the system has been milking you forever, if you milk it now, then hey, more power to you. So, yeah, that's some interesting rates.
I took that hit 13 years ago. You bought a $200,000 house and it went up to 280, and then 08, 09, it was back down to 2.
Mm-hmm.
So the real estate game is funny, but you're right. These people taking on this debt now. And what we really need to think about is we're all so blessed being in America. Mm-hmm. We got warm places to live. We got nice homes. We got food on the table.
Yeah, let's
just hope we can keep that going, and let's trust the Lord.
Right.
All right. Love you, Mike.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for calling and checking in.
All right. Bye.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. And so I can understand how, and LBP, the LBP method, everybody who's been on my front know the LBP method. Give you a quick shout out. I can understand how more people, of course, are incentivized to take on more debt now, just because it's free. It looks like it's free money. But then again, this depends on how you use that to your advantage now. I wouldn't be able to really think about taking all this debt on now and putting it to work in the long run, given the fact that as a part of that long run strategy, we're going to experience a currency restructuring. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but the debt you have now is going to be redenominated in whatever the next currency will be, perhaps. But I would not want to be trying to maneuver in that environment amongst everything else. But yet some people are able to manage it, man. Let me know what you think. Hello, caller. Which name are you calling from?
Well, it's Joe from PA.
Joe from PA. What's going on, my friend?
Nothing much. I just wanted to call up to see what you thought about the $600 Joe Biden thing. I think, like, again, I don't really have no clue as far as all the motives behind it, but I think it's maybe something to do with the UBI.
Mm-hmm.
I think that as like America's, like, they're the oldest, the Class A bondholders of the country, the corporation.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're looking at China and they're saying, how can we compete going further with China, because China has so many slaves.
Yeah.
So I think they're in the process of trying to bring slavery back over here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it never really left when you look at the net worth of certain individuals, but I think that they're trying to bring slavery back over here to compete with China going forward, because they're allowing a lot of immigrants to come in with no skills, and they're devaluing the dollar. And then the $600 limit for the IRS is so that when they roll out the UBI, again, this is just all my theory, but when they roll out the UBI, I think that they don't want people to save the money, and they don't want like 1 million or 2 million or 3 million poor people saving their UBI.
Yeah. So
they have that $600 limit. So therefore, your account is going to get flagged if they see certain people not using the money. So like for example, let's say if you're rich, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Let's say you have like $10 million. So let's say you want to go back like to the hood on the sneak and start giving people in the hood money. That could potentially get people out of poverty. So they're going to try to make it so that you can't save. So if you're rich and you want to go back to the hood and give out money, they're going to notice something's up when people are not spending their money. Yeah. So that's why I think that's why they have that $600 limit, is because they don't want you saving the UBI in the future. Yeah. They want to make sure it's being depleted so they can keep you a slave, so they can compete with China, because right now they having a problem competing with China with all those people that China has working for practically nothing.
Yeah.
This is why all the rich people keep investing over there, even though it's so risky and they could just take your funds. But the reason why people keep investing over there is because they're looking over here and they're like, yo, these Americans, they keep suing us. All these women keep asking for sexual harassment lawsuits. And so they don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
So they're looking at China and they're like, nah, China's like the best plug ever because we get to capitalize on all those slaves, and we don't got to worry about lawsuits. We don't got to worry about checking in with the IRS. We can hide the money in the Cayman Islands or Bahamas. So I think that's their plan going forward. They're going to continue to take away the jobs. And then when you get UBI, they're going to make sure you spend it. And then if your account goes over a certain limit, your account gets flagged, and they're going to start questioning you why you're not spending the UBI.
Right.
And that's why they made that limit so low. That's my theory. Because everybody knows $600 is too low.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think the reason why they did it is because they don't want you saving it.
Right.
And the reason why they don't, and the main people they're going after is the people who can't afford to leave the country, and which is the poor people.
Right.
So that's why I think they made it that low, because obviously if you make it that low, you're not really going after the rich people.
Right. Because
if you make it $600, that lets me know right then and there you're trying to bring a new form of slavery back to compete with China and their slave labor.
Right.
But anyway, I'll let you go.
Hey, appreciate you. Good thought, man. I appreciate that. I'm gonna share my 2 cents on that. Thanks for calling in.
All right, peace.
Yeah. Yeah, great assessment, man. Great assessment. I agree with that, man. And ultimately, as you mentioned, it boils down to control, being able to control down to the very last cent. And so even an article here. So I've been listening to Janet Yellen, and I think one of the congressmen, the Wyoming congresswoman, who had a face-to-face interaction with, Janet Yellen, they had a conversation. She was like, that, the people you're really looking for, they don't really deal with, how you going, billionaires don't really, deal in this form of fashion down to the $600 level. And she's like, yeah, I know, but it's just, a matter of just, basically opening up the groundwork towards basically being able to control what comes in and out. So they want to actually be able to see the transactions down to the down to the very smallest amount. But then again, because it's getting so much pushback right now, there's a chance that they might up that. And so as of right now, when it comes to defense end or any type of transaction now that must be reported by banks, is up to $10,000. So you got some congressmen out there talking about trying to push that up to $10,000. But yet, once that whole framework is set up, 10,000, 600, anything in between, it's all about, the average worker that they would end up having control over. And then you realize it's the first step towards the long-term goal of setting up the CBDC whole process, which is the programmable currency. So then they can see what you do down to the very fine cent. And then if they don't like your activity, they can then stop it and do all types of other things with it. So we all know it's evil in nature. And it's just interesting how, how would that even make it into the infrastructure bill or into the Build Back Better agenda, other than to continuously push more of that globalist approach towards minimizing our freedom in all forms of fashion. So good points, man. Appreciate you for sharing that. Let's get some people on here real quick. Here we go. Hello, caller. Where are you calling from?
Mike, Tony from Oakland. How you doing, brother?
Doing good, my man. What's up with you?
One more again.
Oh yes,
we doing it. Your last caller hit something on the and something I've been thinking about as to why they allow when your cognitive dissonance says something is wrong, then you need to research that. Yeah. You need to go within and figure out what's wrong.
Right.
When we left Afghanistan, we left our soldiers there and picked up people.
Right.
Okay, and then we brought them back, and what did we do? We gave them land. We gave them apartments. We paying for them to be here. That's the same way they got us here.
Yeah.
They picked us up from Africa on a ship named Jesus, trying to bring us over here and give us land, give us everything. But the thing is, there are some Afghans already here. There were some Africans already here.
Yeah.
There were some landowners already here. But they needed that infrastructure where, you aren't working for $30 an hour. They need that infrastructure where you work for 12 cents an hour.
Yeah. Ooh.
We've lost the war with China.
Yeah.
And now we're on our way our plan B is to become the new China, where we got people working for 10 cents an hour.
Yep.
Slave labor.
Right.
Slave labor.
I agree. And that's where I always mention that in this next restructuring of how the global order operates, we're going to see made in the USA again, but it's going to be made in the USA in reference to us creating these products for very cheap, the same way China does it. We're going to import them or export them rather to Asia, to where they'll have a chance to be under the credit system and borrowing and spending and lending, where we over here, I guess, will have to settle for working for less in the plants, and the same road that we have now, but just in the reverse, I think, at some point in the long distance future. So,
well, I don't know if you call them reverse, because what they got set up for us, from what I see, is nothing pretty.
Oh yeah.
Our Social Security number is attached to a banking account, like you said earlier. Is attached to a banking account, and you can access that banking account. It's not easy through the UCC 308.
Yeah,
you can access that and write off debts, but not many people know about that. They've got us so dumbed down that we walking through this thing with COVID. We walking through this thing with the finances, and when it comes to the finance thing end of it. Just a sidetrack.
Yeah.
When it comes to financing of it, most people are just leaving their money where they don't have the abilities nor the forethought to look at their retirement until it's time to retire. Meanwhile, these institutions are taking that money that you put in there on a weekly basis, and they're playing games with it.
Yeah.
And the Social Security thing is really important to everybody. Watch what they do with these other immigrants. Last I heard, they brought in like 70,000 or 70,000 already. But when they start bringing in 100,000 here, then something's really up. We just got to keep an eye on it, man. And I'm afraid that they're just creating a new slave landia.
Yeah, I agree, and that's that. Do you think that system that they're trying to structure now, that's of course because Asian, they think 10, 20, 30 years from now, do you see that being the next decade being fully operational perhaps?
Oh, it's already China's going to roll out with theirs next year. We're going to be on a separate one with Australia, UK, Canada, Japan, and us. It's like 5 of us that's going to be on the U.S. credit score.
The G7. The G7. The G7 nations.
It could be the G7 nations, but we're the ones that's going to be. It's going to say made in America, but people in Africa are going to get it.
Yeah.
So that tells you how much of a slave landia that they've brought these immigrants over for free, and nobody. The border's wide open. We're borderless.
Yeah.
And to get them here, you tell the country, hey, we offering them free land. We giving them free money. They can come over here and get a free job.
Man. Yeah.
They got us here.
Yeah. So obviously they no longer need us, or perhaps majority of us will not be here. So those are our replacements.
They only needed us for the collateral. That Social Security number is collateral, and it can be traded on the stock market. It could be traded in goods. It can be, it could be anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true, man. Good stuff, man. I'm curious, and so I've heard of that being able to draw down on your bank account out there. I've heard about that stuff, but I never dived on a rabbit hole to find out about it. So I'm curious. Have you done anything with that, or know people who've done stuff like that, or what's going on with that?
I've known and I've heard of people who's done it. I was never man enough. I had the balls enough to try it myself. I could probably walk myself through it and get it done myself. But my wife would probably divorce me if I got a credit through the government.
Yeah,
she don't believe in that. So I, out of respect for her, I tend to not delve in that sort of thing. But if I was single, man, I'd be all over it.
Yeah, same here, man. Hey, I appreciate you, TB.
All right, brother, keep your head up.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hello, Carlos. Where are you calling from? Hello?
Hey, what's going on, Mike?
I'm doing well. Who am I speaking with?
This is Miles from NY.
Miles, what's going on, my friend? What's on your mind tonight?
Nothing much, man. Just to add on to the topic, everybody was talking about when they called in.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know, did you look at the first part of that infrastructure bill where they talk about forestry, right? And if you look at that bill, the first part,
mm-hmm.
they plan on dedicating billions of dollars to building up the Mountie, like the ranges and all the rest of that stuff, into an actual army. And not only that, they're taking the playbook from Roosevelt back in the day from the last Depression, where they started building the national parks, to put people to work after they all lost their jobs,
mm-hmm.
sending men off to camps, the able-bodied men.
Yeah.
It got a similar name to it also. If you look at it, they plan on paying them the national, federal level, low level, or whatever it is, basically,
mm-hmm.
To their families while these men are off in these camps building up the land. But the way they plan on getting this land is they plan on repurposing, and it's in the bill, they plan on repurposing anything damaged by fire or natural disaster, which is pretty much all of California, all of those things going on the coastline, and anything that FEMA is going to designate as a disaster-prone area.
Yeah.
They have it in the bill to where as though they can go and they can retake the land, reclaim the land,
mm-hmm.
and have these people come in, live in these camps, pay their families while they're there, and give these guys room and board in order to rebuild into something sustainable. They say they want to split human and animal or nature interaction. So basically, they're just cutting off people from their homes. They're taking it. Homes, they're taking their land, they're taking all that stuff, and they're going to have an army of mountain ranges that they dedicate a lot of that money and that bill to in order to do it. But the funny thing is, they're going to be paying these people in dollars, which is going to be pretty much useless at that point. So they're just going to be there working, able-bodied men for room and board, So they're going to take these people like they did in the Depression era. And if you look at the name, it's real similar. It slips on my mind at the time, but it's like, one word. They only changed one word. He took the
Wow. So as you're speaking, I'm actually looking at all the different sections and titles of the infrastructure bill. And this thing is it goes on forever, man. It's man, they got so much stuff in here. It's crazy. Like just the amount of stuff they got.
It does, but if you look at the first part, forestry, it says forestry or agriculture. And you just go through those parts of agriculture, you'll see it. You'll start pinpointing, wait a minute, why are they giving all this money to the forest ranges,
Yeah.
Then they have all this money to reclaim the land, nationalize the land again that's damaged. You start looking through it. It's just crazy. Man.
I saw something here.
Like it's a slave camp. Basically, they're building slave camps.
Yeah. And I saw something here about reclaim, reclaiming mines. Like unused mines or something like that. Something like, why would the infrastructure bill, like what do they need to reclaim mines for? Of course, we know what's in the ground there, but just all the high traffic stuff. So I'm trying to look and see that agriculture. I see rail saving. I see all types of stuff, but I'll dive further because this page was 20,000 pages or whatever the hell it is. So I definitely can't read it, but I'm going to do some highlighting and go through it and just type in some keywords and see what pops up, man. Because this stuff is crazy.
All right, man.
Appreciate you.
Just look for forestry, but you'll find it, man.
All
When
right.
you see it, it's going to blow your mind, man. Because they're doing the same thing they did in the Roosevelt age when they built the national park.
Yeah.
Except this time they're gonna round everybody up and start putting them out in them camps, and they're gonna work them to death, literally.
Yeah.
Give your family worthwhile dollars in the meantime.
Yeah.
But hey, stay up, Mike. Keep doing.
I will do, man.
I ain't gonna take up all the time.
Appreciate you. Thanks for calling, man. Yeah. So, and that's another thing. I shared a video on the Telegram page about somebody in Washington who had their camera and they went to a construction site and the banner says some, quarantine camp, coming soon, whatever. I'm thinking like, damn, like, so once again, I haven't seen any activity, but I know the plans of having these, as they call them, quarantine camps. But it's like, I wonder. Like I see this stuff happening in Australia. I see all the video footage of, everywhere in airports. Even on Twitter the other day, I saw a list of all the construction sites for the camps is being put up in Canada, and they're all by airports where they got, more than enough space. And all the provinces, I think it was Toronto, Vancouver, the Yukon, all those regions had, locations of where the camps are going to be at. I'm thinking like, I assume Canada be a lot easier due to the fact they're not heavily as armed as we are here. But is that next year, 2 years from now? So I wonder the time frame that they've set and how important it is if we come across stuff like that to put it out there so that it hopefully wakes people up, people realize what's really going on, so that some of this stuff can probably be exposed, more people find out about it to where it can make some mainstream attention. And of course they're going to lie to us, but it'll put us in a better position to be able to say, hey, this is not about health. What are you talking about? Quarantine camps? Like, how are we supposed to be, participating in this? And you're going to also have a camp where you take people who don't participate. So I think coming across information like that, if you guys see it, share it. And at some point, we're going to start having some real conversations about this. And if people see stuff popping up that don't belong there, take some video footage, send it out there. Let's make that stuff go viral so that we can hopefully push back against local representatives that's, a part of, putting them things up there and shame those guys out of office, man. We need some people resigning. We need to get people fired out here in hopes of it derailing their plans and agendas. Anyway, I'm missing calls. Give me a call. Curious to hear what else is going on. Lots of things worth touching on. Oh, man. And okay, so on another note, I saw a video there's on Telegram as well about how more camps, of course, has popped up in China, and they actually show these little, like basically little tiny houses that's, fenced in, and they got people, outside, like, with cell phones, just chilling at these damn camps. I'm thinking, like, who can really sit back and relax and enjoy themselves in a damn camp? Anyway, hello, caller. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Mike, Steve, in Region 9.
Steve, what's going on, my friend?
Very appropriate topic tonight, Mike, because I'm about to file for Social Security benefits. Incredible, man. My son and I have a nice little wager going. Will they crash the economy before I even get the first check out of it? etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I called the Social Security office a couple of weeks ago, and I said, hey, when can I file, etc. And they just pull your information, etc. And the lady said, well, you can file now. And I went, oh, okay, I guess I'll go ahead and do that. I haven't done it yet, but she said you could go ahead and file now. And she was looking at my records while I was on the phone, and she said, wait a minute. Given that you have that CalPERS retirement, we're not going to give you all the money that the school says that you get.
Yeah.
We have to take some of that away.
Huh?
I said, yeah. They said we have to take some of that away from you per month because you had that CalPERS retirement. And I said, well, what do you mean? And I just throw out some numbers that she said. At 62 or whatever, I'd probably be bringing in probably about $1,500 a month from Social Security, not counting the CalPERS. But after she got done, she said, well, that's given that you have that CalPERS retirement, that's going to knock it down to about, close to $850, $900. And I said, why is that? And it's so everybody who's about to retire, it's not going to last long anyway. But it's called a windfall elimination. It's called. So I told her, we were actually laughing on the phone after that, because I said, so in other words, they think I hit the lottery because I had a CalPERS retirement. So then they're going to take money away from me that I should be getting anyway. Yeah. And she said, yeah. And she said, yeah. And we were laughing about it. I don't expect to see it.
Yeah. Wow. So watch this. So you couldn't, nothing you can do about it. You can't contest it. You can't say, hey, I put in, I'm expecting this. So if I didn't have CalPERS, I get the full amount. But because I, they had this, you guys are robbing you. They robbing you, man. Exactly.
And look what they call it: windfall elimination. That's like you hit the lottery or something.
Yeah.
It's called a windfall elimination. So anybody who's about to in their paperwork or whatever, they may want to consider that. But and I'll go to the CalPERS part of it. Right, it's like talking to a brick wall when you try to tell all of these people out here in California about CalPERS is going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to go down at some point. It's not going to be solvent, etc. And it's like talking to a brick wall. They ignore it. It's too big to fail.
Wow.
So it's like talking to a brick wall. Probably one out of 10 people will listen, and even then, they're sitting back going, I'm fat, dumb, and happy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's going to be okay. And I just look at them and go, must be nuts.
Yeah.
The party's going to be over at some point. And the last thing before I get off the phone, me myself, I stumbled. I was lucky. I stumbled
mm-hmm.
into silver and gold. Stumbled into it.
Mm.
My first kid was born in '99, and the other one in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
So the only reason that I got into silver and gold,
mm-hmm.
I just happened to go to my wife at the time. We thought it would be fun just to go to the coin store and get a gold eagle and a silver eagle
mm-hmm.
for both of the boys' birthdays,
mm-hmm.
and basically put it in a frame with their pictures, etc.
Yeah,
that's how I stumbled
yeah.
into silver and gold. And when I went to the shop, well, the guy is the one who educated me and turned me on to the silver and gold, and that's been since like '99.
Yeah. Wow. So yes.
So
man.
So I feel pretty good. That's all I could say about that.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good with that.
Man. Hey, that's good stuff, man. Man, I wish I would have known ahead of that time, because I remember, I was in my early 2000s. I remember somehow, some way, I was in Santiago, Chile, and I was at a coin shop, and I saw some coins and whatnot. I'm like, what's the point of? I didn't know, but thinking back now, I go back like, man, I wish I would have bought some, because that's when silver was, under $10. The silver eagles were under $10 or something like that. I'm like, dang.
I remember buying them. I remember buying silver like at $4 or $5, stuff like that. So that's what turned me on. It wasn't that I was Nostradamus or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I stumbled into it because of when my kids were born.
Yeah.
And then the dealer that I went to is the one who filled me in about, you need to grab this stuff.
Yeah.
And since the 22-year-old, he has 2 monster boxes right now, working on his third.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of falling in line with it, because he knows that the retirement's not going to be there, etc. So it is what it is. But that windfall elimination, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike, they call it windfall elimination.
Yeah, I'll put it up on the screen here.
So they penalize you.
Yeah, I got a little, I'll pull it up on here. It's from Social Security, America.gov, and it gives the whole windfall elimination provision. So it's a little 2-page.
Yeah.
It gives you the prorated and all that good stuff like that, man. So, sucks, man.
So they take a good chunk, but I wanted to make sure that information got out about that, because a lot of people think that they're going to, hit 62 and get full benefit that
mm-hmm.
they send you on those statements.
Yeah.
Nope. They're going to come back and grab some more.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to last anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to last. I don't foresee it lasting beyond this decade here, just because of all the the debt issues we're going to have, and then the rebranding of the currency as well, and the new monetary structure they're setting up. It's going to be digital on your phone. Like how's that all going to play out? So they're going to have all those things connected to one app at some point on your phone, and I don't think they're going to be concerned. And there's a lot of talk now about there's people out here talking about trying to get Social Security recipients to give them additional $1,400, and I think that right there will probably fall in line with the universal basic allowance that they're going to start giving everybody, and alleviate the Social Security side of things, to try to say it's going to be comparable to the same amount. So don't worry about that. This will be monthly, and so that's how you're going to sell it. Because I mean, you definitely don't get the younger generation excited to continue to put in to Social Security if they know they're not going to get it. So they're going to have to find a way to fund the current generation and use something else to incentivize the younger generation. So, and it also be interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, the wheels are definitely going to fall off of it. And but like I said, you can TB'd out here in California. He knows. You talk to somebody who has a CalPERS retirement, they think nothing is going to happen to it. And I'm sitting there shaking my head going, you don't see the handwriting on the wall with this?
Hey, Steve, man, I appreciate you for putting us on game with that, man. Thanks for bringing that to our attention, my friend. Appreciate you.
You guys take care.
We do.
Enjoy. Bye.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Man. So that's just more surprising news that they didn't tell you, when you first got in the work field, 30, 40 years ago that, it's 62. Also, if you get a pension, we're going to have to make some adjustment because we can't have you out here, getting that type of paper. So, yeah, I saw some TV specials about, I forgot, what is it, Sacramento or some small county in California that the fire department, the police, the mayor, everybody's getting, 10, 12,000 a month pensions, and like just they promised and paying out more than even the county, the city can sustain, and they running major deficits out there. So I'm like, wow, people are getting paid. Some people are getting paid just as much or a little bit more than what they were earning back when they were working 9 to 5s. I'm like, how is that sustainable? And not to mention the promises of 7%, is long gone. So I see TB mention about, and so because of the risk out there, you can't do anything dealing with the